Hey everybody, and welcome to FCN Prime News. Today is Monday, April the 2nd. I'm Tresene, your anchor for tonight, and also editor of FCN One, home of news, business, and politics. I've got a lot of great news stories for you guys today, including the bizarre, crazy story of a white lesbian couple basically driving them and their 6 adopted black kids off a cliff to their deaths, and it includes a guy we've actually seen before. So get ready and stay tuned for those news stories. Jayco is also in the studio for Prime Sports. Jayco, what stories do you have for them today?
Thank you, Trey. This is Jayco hosting Prime Sports this evening. I got a couple good stories here. We'll be talking about some racial innuendo with the Wonderlic test. We're talking NCAA tournament, and LeBron James got beef with Bama Roll Tide. All that coming up on Prime Sports. But first, gonna take it back to Trey with our news stories.
We are live, of course, from Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. So if you are new to the program, welcome and thank you for watching. Prime News is the flagship program of the Fifth Column Network, and you can find out all about us at thefifthcolumnnetwork.com. We are on Facebook and YouTube at /The Fifth Column Network. And Prime News is on Instagram and Twitter at FCN One, and Prime Sports is at FCN_2. Make sure to share this broadcast with all of your followers, and don't forget to comment. I know y'all have something to say, so drop them in the comments. We will be reading those and talking about them at the end. All right, first up in crime news, a Tennessee pastor has been arrested for making little boys sit on his face. Pastor Matthew Denny Patterson was arrested on multiple counts of child abuse for incidents that span several decades. Police say that the accusations of child abuse started to come out shortly after he left his church. Patterson was a pastor for over 20 years at the Nolensville Road Baptist Church in Nashville, Tennessee. He resigned in September of 2017 and moved to Pennsylvania. The Child Sexual Abuse and Exploitation Unit investigated Patterson for 6 months and identified 8 victims who said that they were molested by Patterson from 1997 to 2017. A statement from local police said that Patterson was accused of touching the children, mostly boys, who were in their underwear and having them sit on his face and his stomach. He was arrested on March 8th in Pennsylvania and has refused to talk to police. Patterson is being charged with 8 counts of aggravated sexual battery, each tied to a different victim. Police have not said how old the victims were at the time of the alleged misconduct, and they expect more victims to come forward now. This isn't the first time Patterson has been in the news, however. In 2003, when the local city-county council was considering adding sexual orientation to the local anti-discrimination law, he vocally opposed it. Of course he did, because it's always the loudest person hollering about folks doing ish that be engaging in ish. In other news, a YouTube crochet instructor has been charged after threatening an elementary school shooting. Teresa Richardson, age 55, of Savannah, Georgia, posted a video on YouTube showing images of an elementary school with sounds of gunfire in the background, along with her shouting obscene language aimed at teachers and students. Yep, she's been arrested. Richardson was taken into custody Friday after putting up the video entitled "Shooting Godly Station School with Machine Gun Adventures Street View." It wasn't immediately clear what Richardson's occupation was. However, her YouTube channel, which features crocheting techniques explained, has more than 350,000 subscribers. Savannah police say Richardson admitted to creating the video and said it was made, quote, as an expression of her right to free speech, unquote. Richardson has been charged with dissemination of acts related to terroristic threats. Whoa, a label of terrorism finally associated with the school shooting? Maybe we're making some progress. Speaking of school shootings, Parkland High School shooter Nicholas Cruz has been receiving tons of fan mail while he is in prison. The accused Florida gunman Nicholas Cruz has been receiving torrents of fan mail from people around the country, piles of letters, including greeting cards and even provocative photos, have been mailed to the jail cell of the 19-year-old gunman who is currently facing the death penalty after murdering 17 students and staff members at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in February. One Texas woman said in a letter, I reserve the right to care about you, Nicholas. She wrote this just 6 days after the mass shooting, according to a news outlet, the Sun Sentinel. An 18-year-old girl who identified herself as a high school senior also wrote to the killer saying, quote, when I saw your picture on television, something attracted me to you. Your eyes are beautiful and the freckles on your face make you so handsome. I'm really skinny and I have 34C size breasts, unquote. A third letter is from an older Chicago woman who mailed Cruz suggestive photos, including a shot of her cleavage and another of her in a skimpy bikini eating a popsicle. Someone has also deposited $800 in his commissary account so he can buy snacks, personal hygiene products, and other goods while he is in prison. The county's public defender, Howard Finkelstein, said that the letters shake him to his core because they are written by regular, everyday teenage girls from across the nation. He says it scares him and he thinks that it is perverted. Finkelstein also said that since Cruz is on suicide watch, he has not seen those letters. In our feature story for today, 2 lesbian moms and their 6 children are presumed dead after their SUV went off a cliff in Mendocino County, California, and fell into a rocky part of the Pacific Ocean. Sarah and Jennifer Hart, along with their children Jeremiah, age 14, Abigail, also age 14, and Marquise, 19, were found dead in their SUV. Their other 3 children, Devontae, 15, Hannah, 16, and Sierra, 12, are missing, and police say that they have every reason to believe that they were in the SUV, but that they may have fallen out of the car because they weren't wearing seatbelts. Last week, police kept saying that they did not know the details of the accident or how the car went over the cliff. They said that there weren't any skid marks and there were no brake marks, and there was no indication of why this vehicle traversed approximately over 75 feet off of a dirt pullout and went into the Pacific Ocean. However, today, police are now saying that the 2 lesbian moms from Washington State appear to have intentionally driven their SUV off a cliff, killing themselves and their 6 children. A spokesperson for the California Highway Patrol said that the car's computer has been examined and it showed that the car stopped just before it went over the edge and then accelerated until it went over. Sarah and Jennifer were 2 white married women who adopted 6 black children. Their friends say that they were parents who promoted social justice, often taking their entire family to social justice events and protests. In 2014, this photo of their son Devontae hugging Portland police sergeant went viral. The family was at a demonstration against the grand jury's decision not to indict a police officer who shot Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. This photo has later been debunked as completely staged. However, the family had recently moved from Oregon to rural Southwest Washington after the media attention from this photo. Neighbors said that they really kept to themselves, homeschooling the kids and growing their own vegetables. But neighbors also say there was a history of domestic violence in this family. In 2011, Sarah pled guilty to domestic assault after one of her daughters showed up to school with multiple bruises. Neighbors Bruce and Dana DeKalb said that one of the daughters showed up to their door last year at night asking for protection. She said that they were abusing her. The moms explained to the DeKalbs, however, that there was a reason for it, and the DeKalbs say that they believed them. Then weeks ago, Devontae showed up at the DeKalb's house asking for food. He said that the moms were punishing them all by withholding food from them. The DeKalbs gave him food for a little while, but then last Friday, they called Child Services. The Child Services agency tried to contact the family several times since last Friday, but wasn't able to speak to them. Sometime after they knocked on the family's door, neighbors say that they saw that the family car had disappeared and hadn't returned. The agency has had no prior dealings with the Harts. Let's move into a little more political news. After this, Trump has made a couple of moves with regards to immigration. Neither of them have been good. The first being that Immigration and Customs Enforcement is now detaining pregnant women. Yes, ICE is ending its practice of automatically releasing pregnant women from detention, according to internal communications reviewed by the Daily Beast. This is because of President Donald Trump's executive order where he, quote, is enhancing public safety of the interior of the United States, unquote, requiring stricter enforcement of immigration laws. Previously, the agency's general practice was to release women who were in detention who were indeed pregnant. Now pregnant women will only be able to get released if an ICE officer determines so on a case-by-case basis. Pregnant women were still sometimes detained under previous internal guidelines. Immigrants' rights advocates say that the practice is dangerous to women and their unborn children, and that pregnant women are much more likely to miscarry if they're being detained than if they are free. A journalist by the name of Christina Constani, who has the Twitter handle @XTinaTeeny, says that she has reported on this issue for years and says that ICE is not equipped to detain pregnant women at all. She says that pregnant women that she spoke with in custody often didn't get appropriate nourishment, medical care, prenatal vitamins, and some were even shackled during childbirth, denied breast pumps, and not allowed to hold their babies. The new policy means that more pregnant women, of course, will spend time in detention. The second immigration move by President Trump came when he tweeted on Sunday and again this morning that the DACA protection deal is completely dead. In his tweets, President Trump threatened to cancel any potential deal to protect the legal status of undocumented immigrants known as Dreamers, and he warned that he could end the North American Free Trade Agreement if Mexico doesn't help with border security. A deal to protect undocumented immigrants brought to the country as children was dead pretty much well before President Trump tweeted as much. A battle in federal courts continues over the legality of Trump's decision to end the program last March. Any momentum of Congress to protect Dreamers waned months ago, in part because Congress isn't up against a deadline anymore and because lawmakers have already turned their attention to getting reelected this upcoming November. Trump really hasn't proved to be a reliable negotiating partner on immigration, which advocates on both sides say has severely hindered any progress on a deal. In a recent budget battle, he only offered a path to citizenship for hundreds of thousands of Dreamers in exchange for something most in Congress have absolutely no intention of giving him, which are drastic changes to the legal immigration system. So all in all, he and the Dreamers are basically ending up getting absolutely nothing. Back to the topic of school shootings, Black students at Parkland School are expressing their concern over heightened police presence at their school. A group of Black students from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High said they feel intimidated by the increased police presence at the predominantly white school and what it might entail for non-white students. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High is 25% students of color, and we've barely seen any of those students of color given a lot of time from the media. By example, the Time cover had 5 white students on this cover, but 0 of those were students of color. They called a press conference last week to say that they had concerns that many do not mirror that of their white peers. About 8 media organizations covered this press conference, most of them being local. One student said that the school's Black students are not being represented. She peered into the news camera and said to them, "Well, we are here. Do you see us?" The male student pictured behind me says, while some might feel comfort to have more police officers at the school, he does not. He says it is intimidating and that Black students will face most of the consequences of an over-militarized, predominantly white school. Another student, a teenage girl, said conversations about gun violence have to include police violence. And she asked the same people who showed up for #MarchForOurLives if they would also show up for Stephen Clark, Alton Sterling, and Sandra Bland. Speaking of Stephen Clark and Alton Sterling, here are some updates for you all on those particular stories. One of the 2 white police officers involved in the shooting death of Alton Sterling was fired on Friday, the police in Baton Rouge, Louisiana announced, and the other will be suspended for 3 days. The decision came nearly 2 years after the graphic cell phone video caught Sterling's gruesome murder outside of a local convenience store. Early last week, Louisiana Attorney General Jeff Landry announced that he would not pursue charges against the 2 police officers. That decision came 11 months after the U.S. Justice Department said that it was not going to pursue federal civil rights charges in Sterling's July 2016's death. The name of the fired officer is Blake Salamone, who shot Sterling 6 times, who the police chief said diverged from department policy procedure and refused to answer any questions from investigators about the incident. The name of the other officer, who was suspended for just 3 days, is Howie Lake. He did not discharge his weapon in that shooting. Both officers have been on paid leave for more than 20 months. With the internal discipline review now complete, all that remains in the Alton Sterling case is the civil suit filed against the city by Sterling's children. In the update on Stephen Clark, the funeral for him was held last week. Clark was the 22-year-old unarmed black man who was shot at least 20 times by Sacramento police last week while making a phone call in his backyard. An autopsy confirms he was hit 8 times by bullets in his back as he ran toward the back of his own house for safety. At first, police said Clark had been facing them when they'd opened fire and that they thought he had a gun in his hand. It was indeed an iPhone. After the shooting, both officers put their body cams on mute before the footage ends. Emotions have definitely heightened at that funeral and after, as it came 10 days after protests in Sacramento demanding justice for the wrongful death of the young man. This past week, Clark's brother, Stevante Clark, made sure that he'd be heard and seen. Clark and a large group of protesters stormed the Sacramento City Council meeting last Tuesday night to protest the shooting. While his fellow demonstrators filled the chamber, Stevante marched to the front of the room, jumped on top of the desk right in front of the stunned council members and the mayor, and repeatedly chanted his brother's name. As the crowd joined in the chant, Stevante Clark coaxed them on. Louder, 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 he yelled. Check out this video clip of the scene.
Stephon Clark, 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 louder, louder, Stephon Clark,
Protesters have been hitting the streets of Sacramento ever since. They've blocked highways with their demonstrations and twice, including last Tuesday night, blocked entrances to the Golden One Center before Sacramento Kings NBA basketball games. Last week, Don Lemon interviewed Stevante, and well, Don Lemon had to cut that interview short. Check out this 30-second clip of how that interview started off.
Jay Clarks, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's tough, but we appreciate you joining us on this day today. I know it's even tougher because there was a wake held for your brother, Stephon. First, let me express again my sympathy here. How's your family holding up? How are you holding up? What does that mean?
Next question.
Okay. Obviously, you are in grief.
Many have commented about Stevante's actions, claiming they aren't a good look, that he isn't the best face for protests, and his behavior is absolutely unbecoming. And yes, this is coming from both black and white people. Stevante's actions at his brother's funeral were no different. I won't be showing that pertinent 15-minute clip of the funeral here, but it's about an hour into the funeral where we see Stevante's unusual funeral etiquette. But many medical professionals are calling what they see signs of PTSD, as Stevante has lost 2 of his brothers to gun violence. What do you all think? Let me know in the comments. In other news, international if you will, 14 Caribbean nations have sued their former colonizers for slave trade. 14 Caribbean nations have resolved to sue their former colonizers: Britain, France, and the Netherlands for lingering harms that they have attributed to the slave trade. The AP reports that the leaders of the Caribbean community, a regional consortium, adopted a 10-point plan that would seek an official apology, a cancellation of debts, and assistance for cultural and educational institutions. The regional consortium has hired British human rights firm Lee Day to pursue the case. Lee Day previously secured a $21.5 million judgment for Kenyans who were tortured under Britain's colonial era government. Wink, wink to all the Black Americans. In my final story, Grindr is telling other companies if you're HIV positive. The gay hookup app Grindr is in damage control mode after a Norwegian nonprofit exposed that the company is sharing users' HIV status and other personal information with 2 other corporations. BuzzFeed News independently confirmed these allegations by the researchers. Aptimize and Localytics, companies that help optimize apps, are being sent Grindr's users' HIV status and the date they were last tested if it is included in their profile. The information also includes users' screen names, GPS data, email address, and phone ID. The app's privacy policy warns customers that information users put in their profile may be disclosed. While the company has made a push lately to encourage users to be tested and share the date it happened, they did not disclose that the information be given to third-party vendors. Federal law prevents companies and medical professionals from sharing someone's HIV status and other medical information outside of limited circumstances. But since users voluntarily share the information on their public profile, the law may not apply. The company also shares users' sexual orientation, relationship status, tribe, and ethnicity with companies if the information is listed in their profile. Whew! Again, I say, when are we gonna let all these apps go? All right, I want to kick it over to J. Cole, who's waiting to give you guys your sports stories for tonight.
Hey everybody, it's J. Cole. You can follow me at JCoeIsIt, and I welcome you to the Prime Sports Desk, where I present to you a perspective that isn't yours. Now, before I go into my top story, I considered doing this as a full story. I was like, nah, it doesn't deserve it. I'm just gonna bash the Major League Baseball real quick. So there's something in Major League Baseball called the shift, where if a batter hits a certain percentage of his hits to one side of the field, they shift all the fielders over to that side of the field, right? Completely legal within the rules. Well, a Baltimore player decided he was going to bunt the opposite direction because the Minnesota Twins had shifted. And the Twins got mad. That's just not good baseball. That's bad for baseball. You decide to move all your players over to the right side of the field. You open this whole area up for this man, and it's bad that he takes advantage of your dumbass? No, Major League Baseball, no. And I'm bringing this up because I discussed a couple weeks ago about Major League Baseball and their inability to update with the times and just completely stick with the baseball way. So really, for you, Major League Baseball. And that's my favorite sport, but y'all messing up. So anyway, on to my top story. My least favorite sport, the NFL. So the Washington Post leaked a so-called leak of this year's Wonderlic results, a ridiculous test of all the NFL draft class they take. And the scores came out, and as you can see on the Washington Post tweets, it says the Wonderlic results look good for Josh Allen, not so much for Lamar Jackson. Now, by all objective analysis, this test is not an accurate indicator of whether someone will be a good quarterback. I did quite a bit of research on this. Historically, it seems like its sole purpose is to try and put down talented black quarterbacks once they look better than the white ones. This test is 50 questions. You get 12 minutes to answer the questions. What if you just read a little slow? I mean, simply as that. What if you just read a little slow? What if you could get them all? So me reading words slowly means I'm not going to be a good quarterback. That's bullshit. You talk about outdated nonsense in a whited up way. NFL, you're catching up to Major League Baseball in this. This is a quick analysis of supposed top-ranked quarterback. Intangible factors matter at quarterback because it's a cerebral position that requires great discipline on and off the field. If that's not coded language, I don't know what is. It's nonsense. Lamar Jackson threw approximately 4,000 more yards than that other guy in the same amount of time. He rushed for about an average of 1,500 yards per year. So not only is he throwing more, he's rushing. So you got a dual threat. Their accuracy is almost exactly the same. Their interceptions, Allen had a few less, but obviously with more yards, Jamar, is probably throwing more. So what makes you think that this Wonderlic test is gonna determine whether that guy is good or whether he's not good? I think it's ridiculous. I call bullshit. I call racism. They did that for Vince Young, I remember, when he was going up against what was the USC quarterback. Neither one of those guys panned out, but Vince Young was better. The other guy,
Vince Young played a lot longer.
He played a lot longer. That other guy did nothing in the NFL. I don't even remember his name. That's how good he was. So anyway, tonight is the night, ladies and gentlemen. The NCAA tournament, the Final Four has come to a conclusion. We have our final game versus Michigan and Villanova. Now, I have Villanova from the beginning. I still feel like they're going to win. They're going to beat the Wolverines. They have 2 players on that team projected to go in the first round of the NBA. To my experience, when you got more NBA talent on your team in this final game, that's usually the one that wins. Michigan has a big white German guy. Those guys are always great in the tournament, and he is projected to go second round. My prediction for his career is 5 solid years on a team like Indiana or possibly Utah. And he may go somewhere like Toronto or Charlotte for a year or so, and then you'll never hear from him again. So good luck to both teams, but we all know Villanova is going to win this one. Anyway, on to my final story. Very interestingly enough, on Monday, LeBron James' platform, The Uninterrupted, sent a letter, cease and desist, to Alabama University addressing concerns over copyright infringement and intellectual property appropriation. Uninterrupted released its first episode of the show, The Shop, during the 2017 NBA Finals. Alabama recently released a promo for Shop Talk, featuring Bama head coach Nick Saban, alum Julio Jones, and a couple other players. Now, I don't know. I mean, a lot of guys sit around and they talk in the barbershop. So was this copyright infringement? Was this appropriation? Come on, guys. Let's take a look. Let's see. So here's a shot from Shop Talk. This is Eddie Jackson getting his hair cut, talking to the guys, talking to Julio Jones about Alabama, about Saban. Here's an episode. Oh, that's the shot. Oh, wait. Yeah, no, that's kind of similar. Okay, so just coincidental. I mean, they're getting their haircut, right? Everybody does. So here's a copy of the Shop Talk logo, right? Bama football, Shop Talk, established 2018. Well, let's see. Do they have a logo for the shop? Oh, wow. We used to call that, when I was growing up, we called that biting. Bama is biting. Listen, they better cease. They better desist. There's no response yet from Alabama, but I cannot imagine that by any stretch of the imagination that they will win this and be able to actually broadcast that episode. They're going to have to completely rethink this idea. It was a nice try, guys. Usually people wait a while before they appropriate, but damn. That's some honkies for you. Well, ladies and that's some Bama honkies. Let's hear it. Them there Negroes, they can't do nothing. They ain't smart. we're just gonna go ahead and do this. We're gonna take it from them. Oh my goodness, they got lawyers. LeBron James, who's he? He's got money? Since when the Negroes have money for lawyers? Oh, this is horrible. This is terrible. Well, what are we gonna do, guys? Nope, can't lynch him. It's not an option anymore. I'd love to do it, but what else can we do? We can call him a liar. Everybody believe us, right? We're white, he's black, we can call him a liar. What should we do?
You know I got comments.
What we got here is a failure to properly steal a nigger's trademark.
So, good luck with that, Alabama. I'm going to go back to our lovely host, Trezene, because I feel like she's got comments on this, and we also probably have some comments for the show.
Yeah, you know I got comments on this issue. Can you go back to the logos for the company?
Oh,
Can you
sure.
I see the shop.
So here's the shop, and here is shop talk.
Okay.
I mean, they just cut and paste that scissors.
I don't see the scissors. That's what I'm looking for. Where's the scissors?
It's at the bottom. You see it? Am I in the way?
Yes. I see said scissors. Okay. See,
I
ain't
see that?
I was ready to
it's the
all
same
the way in.
It's the same thing.
Okay, so at the end of the day, we just literally just have a trademark issue. Because I was going to be like, what? Like, listen, man, I understand the concept of biting as in black culture. Like, we don't want you copying nothing. You weren't creative enough to come up with it, then just stay up off me, okay? We don't see imitation as flattery. It's just we don't see
but
that.
there's creative.
Yeah, we don't see that. But
Copyright
in this particular
too, though,
instance,
right?
seeing those little scissors, that no copyright issue at all.
Okay.
It's just
the trademark.
because you have taken a symbol we're trying to use to show that we are the source of this show. That's the only issue we have there. Wow, because you can copy a show all day long. Like you can.
Oh yeah,
you
definitely.
can copy a show. You can even copy the title of the show if you want. But you can't start taking pictures and logos and start using that, because then you're creating confusion between who is really over what show.
We can take show titles?
Yeah, you can't copyright show titles.
Tomorrow Thursday, we're changing the name to ESPN the 6th.
Got it.
Yes, that's happening.
ESPN is the name, a source of a product or service. We will not be doing that, ESPN. Please don't add us with your...
FCN the 6th. We're going to start it at 6 o'clock.
All right, let me go to these
And I'm going to find a woman to put on, and I'm going to call her Janelle Hill.
Or you could just get Jamila Harper.
Jamila Harper, there we go.
That show's blowing up.
Done.
She's pretty sassy.
Done. She's
That show's
always
blowing up.
sassy.
Let's see. We have some comments on your stories, though.
Okay.
Let's see. The first one was thinly coated at that. So that was from Jonathan Faust. He
Yes.
was talking about the
Very
coated
the
language.
Wonderlick. Yeah, it's very thinly. Like that image and that title on that tweet, I was incensed looking at that. I'm like, you're not even trying to fool anybody with that.
You know, it reminds me, like, I don't know why people always do this. When they feel that they are losing in an area to black people, here they come with some weird test or intellectual something to try to balance it out. It happened in law school. I'll never forget it. Black people was killing all the white people in all the oratory competitions. Then all of a sudden, here comes this writing component, and we're all like, Lord. And all of a sudden, now all the people who are the best speakers are all white. They do it all the time. They just get... Because they
change the rules.
They have to change the rules to make sure that they're at the prominent or whatever. It's so whack. Let's see. He's laughing at your Alabama honkies as well. And Jonathan also says Josh makes a better door than a window. What?
Because I'm in front of the logo when you were trying to.
Gotcha.
I have to move over for the split
You
screen
missed a
to
comment
work.
from Don Shirley.
Oh no, I'm going back up. I'm starting at the bottom, going back up. Let's see. Miss Don Shirley says that poor family so tired of this ish. Yes, probably talking about the Clark family losing 2 sons. Yeah, we're so tired of the BS that is police brutality. And then J. Cole commented on the story with the white lesbian lady saying, of course they believed it.
Right, like, they explained it to us, and like, they explained what? Why they were abusing them, or explained her, like, what part did they explain? Like, they explained why they were abusing her, and we were okay. Like, what part are you okay with that? That's the kind of stuff that,
I don't know.
Like, they're like, oh, well, any reason for us not to get involved?
Any reason? Like, they came to you how many times with clear signs of abuse, and it took you how long?
You staying in my
called too
house,
late.
and I'm calling the police. You're not leaving my house alone.
That's white privilege right there.
Boy.
It's so sad. It's
Not even a privilege. They just don't care. If it was a white kid, then they would have done something. But it was black kids. So like, this is better than what they would get in another situation.
And with that, we'll conclude our comments for today.
You had several comments left.
No, I don't see them. That's all I see.
Can you
Producer, if you'd like to read those.
read the comments, producer?
I believe you had another comment directed to you, Jaco.
Mm-hmm.
From Ramon Javier Benitez.
Okay.
It said, "What does 5 solid NBA years look like?"
5 solid NBA years.
What does
He's gonna probably average about 5 rebounds. He'll average maybe 7 points, maybe 6, 7 points. He's just gonna be a body in there. He's gonna work hard. He's gonna hustle. I think he can shoot. These tall guys can shoot nowadays. So, he'll be able to spread the floor a little bit. He's going to average, I want to say 16 to 18 minutes a game. That's his solid 5 years.
So by solid, you mean mediocre?
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what I mean. That is exactly what I mean. Mediocre. Anything else?
That is all from the peanut gallery.
Oh,
That is all right. Okay, awesome. All right, y'all. So that wraps up our comments. So tomorrow is Tuesday, which means we'll have The Revolution hosting the Black Lightning pregame show. How many more episodes do you have left, Revolution? Some. All right. On Wednesday will be Hockey-Tone with The Woo Show, along with, what is Tiffany's? T-Shack's Talks. Yes, with T-Shack's Talks, she'll be joining him for the Woo Show, which is all things your weekly recap of WWE, MMA, UFC, and indie wrestling. And then on Thursday, Prime News will be back at 7 p.m. Following that will be the Thursday Wind Down hosted by Starla K. Mathis. And then following that will be True Baller Thursday with Jaco Is It and the Reggie Mathis. That is all we have for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you all next time.